Welcome, friends, to High Elves Army Project Episode 2, which has taken me longer than anticipated to get made, but it's only because I wanted to have enough cool stuff to share and show to make the video fun and hopefully worth watching, so I hope that it is worth the wait, and let's just jump on into some of the stuff I've been working on here. So, first off, let's start with dessert. Here is my big dragon, because who doesn't love a big dragon in Warhammer Fantasy? Hero Hammer, of course, and dragons fighting is just awesome. So here it is. You might be wondering, what is that dragon from? Well, I had an interesting situation where I wasn't quite sure how to get my hands on a dragon kit. Of course, I at first was going to be happy to just get the official High Elf Dragon kit because it's pretty new and pretty sweet. And by new, I mean, how many years old is it at this point? 10 plus? I'm not sure. But it's plastic and it's newer than most of the Warhammer Fantasy range and it looks freaking sweet. But as you all probably know, it's crazy hard to find one at a good price right now. I think when I was looking, they were going for like $200 plus on the secondhand market. So I thought that's not going to work for me. So I looked at the options and I found this dragon that was from the McFarlane range. They make like different toys. Obviously, some of them are wacky and not going to work, so it was a bit of a challenge to find the right one that might work. But I think this one did the trick. He's a little bit beefy, but I was able to get him to work by putting him up on some rocks and stuff to make sure that other units can actually rank up against him. After a paint job, I think he came out pretty cool. And I magnetized the top so I can put a mage on there. So I have this that old Lumineth mage character that I threw on the top there. It is probably a little bit ridiculous that he has an owl perched on his hand while he's riding a dragon. But if anyone's going to be flamboyant and ridiculous, I think that it should be the elves. And since I magnetized him, I'm also looking for an option for, putting a fighty character on there, like a prince. Still kind of trying to figure out what way to go for that. Trying to see if I can find, the bits from the dragon, the High Elf Dragon kit, and maybe just, finagle it so that magnetizes on top with the rider, or maybe I can use, a dragon prince rider. So we'll see. That'll probably be episode 3. I might have a solution by then. But I think that this guy is pretty sweet. And at the end of this video, I'll do a little montage of some of his battle shots, as I've only done 2 games, but pretty fun so far. Not sure if people are interested in knowing about, how I'm painting things or what, but I thought it was an interesting technique that I used on this guy. It was kind of influenced by Marco Frassoni on YouTube. If you haven't checked him out because he's freaking incredible as a painter, and I think he might have just won a Golden Demon at Adepticon. Much deserved, and shout out to him. I love watching the way that he airbrushes. I, of course, have constant struggles with my airbrush and it clogging and me not being able to use it effectively. So I tried to mimic some of his techniques, in which he kind of underpaints and then does oil washes over the top for the dragon. So that's the route that I took for my dragon. I pretty much used contrast paints and Army Painter speed paints, mixed them up on there and kind of tried to blend them together with a dry brush after, not a dry brush technique, but a second brush, and mix them while they're still wet to try to create some gradation. Gradation? What's the pronunciation? Someone knows. Okay, but not me. And so I did that the best I could, and then I did the membrane kind of areas on the wings and tried to blend that up while the paint was still wet, using a medium to kind of slow the acrylic paint from drying so it almost could act like oil paint junior. And then once I had all of that dry and the underpainting done, I used a brown oil paint mixed with mineral spirits to thin it down and do an oil wash over the top to really like get in the cracks and dirty him up and darken down all that oil paint or all that underpainting that I did. And I think that really got in there nicely to sell some of that detail on him. So yeah, so let's keep on moving. As we know from episode 1, the focus of this project has been on white lions. These were those 3D printed white lions, painted up now. I still have a little bit more work to do on them, but they are tabletop ready, and might get a few more layers and little details picked out. Definitely going to do some custom decals on the banner, of which I bought some of that inkjet water slide decal paper where you can design and print your own decals. So maybe if people are interested in that, I can make a video showing that process, because it seems like that's pretty sweet to be able to make your own decals for any project custom. And I'm kind of looking forward to that as I start to play with different options of what those decals might look like. But I'm pretty happy with how these guys have come out so far. They're a fun unit. They look pretty neat. They're a little bit beefier than the official white lions, but I think that they got a pretty cool look still. They've been really cool in game too with those big old axes. So yeah, just a lot of fun here. And the unit filler I'm really happy with, where I perched a 3D printed lion up here on like a rocky outcropping, and he's got just like his white lion buddy next to him. And that was really fun to paint, and I think that's kind of a cool touch. Okay, and here we have a 3D printed white lion chariot. Tricky part with this guy is that the chariot itself is actually a little bit small, and so it's hard for me to get 2 riders mounted in here. So I might have to do a little extended platform off the back, where maybe like the guy who's like got the reins is sitting, or maybe the guy with the reins will be in the front, and on the kind of extended area in the back is where the white lion guy or the character will go. In this picture, this is the guy that I'm using currently as a noble. He was another 3D print, and I think he's pretty sweet too. He's got a cool look. His look almost is more like a night elf from World of Warcraft. So it's kind of different aesthetically from the other 3D printed white lions. Not sure if I absolutely love them being different, so I'm not sure. We'll see what I end up doing there. But pretty cool so far. And this guy's another one who's been really fun to use just in the 2 games so far. Having the noble mounted on the chariot is pretty fun. All right, this block is a big old block of Lothran Seaguard. They are close to being done, but they have all of this fiddly detail on the shields and on the banners that I need to pick out still. And I kind of just dread doing that kind of painting. So I'll get there when I get there, but I'm going to try to have a little bit more fun and keep the energy up and just keep working on the parts that I want to work on, I guess. And then I'll return to the little fiddly bits that I don't love later, I suppose. But another fun part of this unit is, you'll see in the front here, is the Island of Blood Mage with this couple conversions from episode 1 painted up, and I think this guy's pretty cool. I haven't got to use him just yet because I've been playing the mage character on the dragon, but I think pretty soon, once I get a couple more games in, I'll get him on the table and try him out as like my level 4, just put in it in the unit of this Seaguard. But yeah, he was fun to paint up, especially I thought the magical blast that he's on, he's kind of like flying on. Trying to pick a color for that was interesting, just because I have a lot of colors going on in this paint scheme. And so trying to figure out what's going to be, I don't want it to be like the straw that breaks the camel's back. We're just like, it's too much. And to some, it probably already is too much, but to each their own. And so I ended up going for just like a kind of traditional fire, like orangey yellow kind of look, because I thought that wasn't too garish when paired with like the red and gold of everything else. And then I did a little bit of like blending that orangey yellow fire into like a pink and white, so it has like a little bit more magical feel to it. And I think this unit is looking pretty cool, and it's been fun for me so far. I know that in the game I've learned that these guys have like some kind of ability where they can stretch out, and then when they get charged, they can automatically free reform into their like combat ranks or closed ranks. But so far I haven't taken advantage of that because that's just a pain, you know, to take all of these guys out of their movement trays and stretch them out into a line and then move them back, and I'm just not really all about that. So maybe I'll find a movement tray solution that allows for that a little bit more effectively. But for now, this is working. All right, so here are some more in progress type units. That's where we're moving on to now. Again, hopefully these guys will probably all be ready in the next couple weeks, as I'm really trying to push to get this all painted and wrapped up. Here's the Illyrian Reavers mounted on their 30 by 60 mil bases. This is a really fun unit. I think, you know, they kind of fill the void of like chaff a little bit in this army, sort of like the Great Eagle. But I've played them both as skirmishers and non-skirmishers. They're both kind of fun. But yeah, I think these guys will be pretty neat when they're painted up. A lot of detail, so a little bit intimidating to paint, but hopefully they'll come out nicely in the end. All right, so here are 12, or to be more accurate, 10 Swordmasters of Hoeth. These guys are freaking sweet in the game because they have essentially great weapons that strike at initiative instead of always strikes last, which can be very, very good. As with a lot of this stuff, though, they definitely can get picked off at range and take heavy casualties, so it's always a little bit of a dance to try to get them in, but you don't need a ton of them to get in there to really carve some stuff up. The issue I've run into is I have 10, but I want to run them in 12. Really kind of difficult to find these guys at the moment for me. Like a couple more of them. I rolled the dice and I finally found something on eBay that looked like it might work. I only need 2 more to finish the unit, and so I found an auction that had like 5 of them. Unfortunately, they were like, looked like they had been like dipped in craft paint or something like that, as I'm sure we've all encountered before, that kind of thing. And so I figured, what the hell, I'm gonna roll the dice, and I bought them. It was like $16-17 for the 5, and I'm gonna try to strip them, and realistically I only need 2 of them to work out of the 5. So as long as 2 of them are somewhat salvageable, I'll call it a win because I get to complete my unit. All right, and here you might remember from episode 1, the Phantom Menace. No, episode 1, High Elf Army Project. That I was able to randomly pick up 10 Phoenix Guard from a used model bin at a local store at like a dirt cheap price. And if you're familiar with Phoenix Guard, it's not really a unit that you want to just take 10 of. You want a bigger unit, I think, to take advantage of the defensive kind of tech that they have with the ward save and the halberds. So I was on the hunt. I eventually was able to find 10 more used at it. And I don't want to say a great price because it was a little more than I want to spend. I think it was probably like $40 or something for 10 that were already painted. They're painted okay, but I just sprayed them over, and I'm going to paint them in my scheme. So now I've got 20 of them. I also have a unit filler, which I think will be pretty cool, where I took an old resin base that had like kind of temple designs, and I slapped on the top of it a bit I've been dying to use for quite some time. You might recognize this as the little Chaos Warrior dude from Bellacor's base. And he's cool because he has like a fire kind of thing, like his soul is burning out. And if you're at all familiar with the Phoenix Guard or just Phoenix in general, what's the plural of Phoenix, I wonder? Is it just Phoenix? Singular Phoenix, plural Phoenix? I think so. Somebody put that in the comments if I'm wrong, though, so that I can correct that for the future. But, Phoenix have like a rebirth and like a flame kind of motif. So I think the flames on the Warrior of Chaos is kind of cool. I'm just going to slap a drummer on there because I ended up acquiring 2 drummers randomly by buying these used. And I don't really need 2 drummers, but it works out all right because I can throw them on the unit filler. All right, and the last thing we've got here is a very, 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 very neat, great eagle. I thought he was just going to be chaff because he's pretty cheap. I think like 60 or 70 or 80 points, something like that. So just throw him in there and just fly him around the flanks or something. He actually hits decently well. From what I've found so far. So, probably try to throw him in more lists. But I was all out and I was having a hard time finding those clear acrylic peg flight stands. So I took an old fountain bit from, I want to say Warcry, which kind of works because it has like a little eagle motif on it anyways. That's kind of fun. Similar to the fountain bit that I used for the Sea Guard unit filler. And then I glued a 3D printed like crystal kind of bit that I had on it to give it a little more verticality. And I glued him on there so that it looks like he's kind of just like soaring up over this little fountain. And I think it looks pretty cool. I did a really quick paint job on him just using contrast paints and like a little bit of dry brushing. But yeah, not bad for, probably like an hour or less of work on him. Maybe I'll do some highlights at some point, but not too bad. Mainly speed is the recipe here, where I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible, which isn't always that easy considering how detailed these models are, but doing the best I can here, people. So that wraps up pretty much what I've got going right now. I am also still working on painting up the 10 Lumineth archers that I'm using as just regular archers, but I didn't snap a picture because they are, just plain still. So hopefully by episode 3 I'll have some paint on them too to share. So now I thought it'd be fun to finish this episode with a few pictures from the game that I played last night. It was a super, super fun game. I played against this guy, Adrian, who I met at the local game store. He is a cool dude because he's got a bunch of painted armies, and I'm a big fan of that. And not only that, but he had a sweet Dark Elves army. And so when I saw that he had that a few game nights back, I knew that I would love to play a High Elves versus Dark Elves game and just battle dragons with him and just... that's kind of the dream, I think, for me, as someone who just loves elves. So that was an awesome thing to look forward to, and it did not disappoint yesterday. It was a great, great game. We battled back and forth, and we had a lot of ups and downs. At some parts, it looked like the game was going to be over for me very early because he charged his dragon into my Phoenix Guard and then challenged. I had a battle standard bearer noble in there. I still wasn't super familiar with the challenge rules, and I still am not after the game, but I'll read up on it more. But essentially kind of what happened is I didn't want the dragon and I'm not sure what their version of a noble is for Dark Elves, like a Dread Prince maybe or something like that. I don't know, but he had a great weapon, and he was very scary as well as the dragon, so I hid my noble in the back, so he didn't die. But then he just beat the living shit out of me with overkill and made my unit break and run, which then caused a chain reaction, which I did not anticipate at all considering I was playing elves. I thought, I have high leadership. This won't be a problem. But then I had so many units around those Phoenix Guard that it ended up breaking like 3 of my units. And then like 3 of my big expensive units were then fleeing. And I was pretty close to my board edge, so I was thinking that was probably going to be the end of the game pretty much, because it was a big unit of White Lions, my Noble on Chariot, and now my Phoenix Guard with Battle Standard Bearer, all fleeing, all within probably like 6 inches of my board edge. So not ideal, of course. But luckily we were able to work it out, and my guys were able to rally and get back in the fight. My dragon was able to, fly around and kill some things and get me back in the game. One of the high points for me was it was a very, very cinematic type of battle. I feel like it was the kind of battle that feels like it would be at the end of like a fantasy novel, which to me that is the best part about Warhammer Fantasy, is like getting to play out those kinds of moments. And it was that kind of moment where our each of our heroes on dragons were kind of battling back and forth across the entire map. Meanwhile, our armies are clashing and just tearing each other apart, and it was freaking awesome. It was like everything that I love about Warhammer Fantasy encapsulated in one game. And so it really has me pretty hyped to keep going with this army. It's given me the motivation to also take my Age of Sigmar's Demons of Slaanesh army and port them over onto bases and get them ready so I can give them a shot, and even to figure out what might be beyond that as far as collecting another army. So pretty hyped on Warhammer Fantasy or the old world right now. Really took me back to being like 16 or 17 and playing Warhammer Fantasy. So really, really cool. Everything I could really ask for out of a game, including one really funny, awesome moment where my Archmage threw a fireball, or I'm blanking on the name, but you know it. It's the high magic big fireball spell, and landing it directly on the big unit of spearmen that had his big mage character in it, and I killed something like 14 spearmen with it, which was just insane. It was so funny and fun. So yeah, that is going to be it and wrap up this episode. I hope that you have enjoyed this, and I want you guys all to know that I'm going to be working on getting some old world battle reports, as I promised in episode 1 going. It's cool to have made some friends now who are also into it, who have painted armies, who want to come on the channel and play games for you all to watch. So as soon as I can get my army all the way painted, we will be making that happen, because who wants to see not painted armies battling, right? That's no fun. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and go paint your minis, go roll some dice, drop a comment, subscribe, like, do whatever you got to do, or don't do any of those things, really. I mean, you have free will, and that is a part of the beauty of being alive. I appreciate you all watching. Catch you guys next time.